And we're live. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here with us today on this wonderful Wednesday. Hope everyone's having a beautiful day wherever you are. And yeah, so for anyone tuning in to these shows for the first time, this is our weekly Q&A where we take questions from the community and just dive into all sorts of health related topics based on those questions and whatever's on our mind. And each week I'm joined by Toni Weel, who is an iridologist and detox specialist trained under Dr. Morse. And she spends her time and her days helping people come back to their health, because there's no such thing as really healers in this world. We have to find the health ourselves. So it's about taking that responsibility and saying, I'm taking ownership of my health. I know the correct path, or I want to learn the correct path. And Toni's a beautiful guide who helps people on that path so that they can come back into themselves and feel their best. So with that, Toni, thanks for being here today. And did you have any opening words for us?
Not really today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always think about, not really always, but I do think about what shall I say? And then it's like, where do I start? And what is really important? And then you come to the conclusion is like, my own journey on how I got here is actually not that important. It's like, yeah, what you mentioned is that that we are all our own healers. And Dr. Morse always says that he trains the healers, and that's actually what he does. He trained me to be a healer, to give my information to you so you can be your own healer. And that's, and you will do the same for other people. And because once you have the information, then there's no way back. There's not that you can say, oh, no, this is not for me. No, this is not going to work. You can make it work. And unless you like your pain in or disability or health problems that you have, you will get on this journey, because it is just the only way to get where you need to be and be in a healthy body, and not be on a host of different pharmaceuticals that suppresses the symptoms. And I got in front of me and the parts from that is about neurological neurodegenerative conditions. And I don't know how it is for you, Justin, but when I was a kid, I never heard about, Alzheimer's or dementia. It was like, yeah, people get old and they start forgetting things. We now know what it is. We just live in an acidic body, but 50, 60, 70 years ago, it wasn't not as bad as it is now. Not with all the foreign substances that are forced into our bodies, or what we take ourselves because we're so brainwashed that we actually think it's healthy for us. But nowadays, it's like everybody knows somebody with Alzheimer's or with multiple sclerosis, MS. It's scary. To me, it is scary. So under neurological or neurodegenerative condition is Alzheimer's, dementia, encephalitis, Huntington's, Lou Gehrig's, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, big one, and tremors. And neurological and neurodegenerative conditions, they do take time and, of course, dedication to reserve. If you have this, then in addition to kidney weakness and lymphatic problems that leads to acidosis, it is pretty likely that you're also up against one of more of the following, which is adrenal gland weaknesses. And this is actually very easy to test for yourself if you take your blood test or get your blood test taken. Nowadays, you can get those wrist tests, and they are very easy. Or in the store, you can even get it done there. So whenever take your blood pressure, then do take it at least 3 times. And you always see the third time is the lowest one, because then you're relaxed, you're not walking, you're sitting down, and it affects your blood pressure and you get to the right readings. When you have an adrenal gland weakness, you will see that your blood pressure is like the top one, it's the adrenals. Say that it should be 120/60. Now say that 120 is only 100 or it is 140. You know, something is wrong there. And it means that there is a decreased production of neurotransmitters, notably dopamine, and that is compromising the myelin sheath integrity. Deeply rooted emotional instability and difficulty letting go of or detaching from one's disease or other problems or circumstances associated with it. We do tend to hang on to wanting to know what exactly we do have, you know, give the disease a name. So now we know what's wrong with us, and now we can do something about it. It doesn't need to have a name, really. It is only, you know, now that you do need to do something about the high acidosis in your body. And that causes, amongst, and stress, of course, which is also highly acidic, causes the adrenal gland weaknesses. Another one, and I had never thought of it until I got this article in front of me, and that is a liver gallbladder weakness. Now, compromised fat metabolism due to liver gallbladder weakness also contributing to degeneration of the myelin sheath. And that is where you have a tendency to generate and exhibit anger. Isn't that something that you see, that a person is unreasonably angry, and then you start thinking, must be something wrong with the liver there.
Well, and that's just to touch on that. I mean, that's why alcoholics tend to be angrier, because their liver is so damaged from the alcohol.
True, but it's not the case for everybody.
No.
My father was an alcoholic. I've never seen him angry. I had a boyfriend when I was somewhere in my mid-20s who was an alcoholic. He was actually kind of fun when he was drunk. And no, it's, but I have to say, in his 30s, he already showed signs of dementia. So that is what alcohol can do too. And then there is a parathyroid weakness. This is compromised calcium utilization resulting in impedant or nerve impulse transmissions. And the problem when you have a parathyroid weakness is with absorbing nutrients from your food too. And that is, of course, related to your GI tract. So everything works together. Now, the next one is what we all deal with, is the electromagnetic hypersensitivity. Various, sometimes debilitating symptoms from prolonged exposure to multiple sources of electromagnetic fields, including wireless communication devices, magnetic fields, power lines, electric fields, etc. This can negatively impact and inhibit detoxification. And we don't think about that because, and even I am guilty in the last 2-3 years, is living with your cell phone. Your cell phone is always somewhere. If it's not in your pocket, then it's in your hands, but usually not far from you. And it's not helping. And you think now, oh my gosh, how could I ever live without my cell phone? Well, I've done it until, a few years ago. It was only used for emergencies if my car broke down, and then it was handy to have a cell phone with me. But other than that, I don't use it. And then you come to the conclusion, slowly but surely, your whole life kind of is around your cell phone. It's if it's not for Facebook, it's for the messages, and the messages are everywhere. The apps are everywhere. We go from Telegram to MeWe to Rumble to YouTube to Facebook and email and watching movies. And so it's always there everywhere. And I think we should try to get to do a step back if we want to heal. And yeah, we're here because we do want to heal. And even for me, it's something like, oh, okay, I have to get away from from this now for a while. Go sit outside and put your feet in the grass and get away from it, because it does stop your, well, can we say, would it stop the detoxification? It's not really helping.
No. Yeah, I mean, just to give some tips on reducing the cell phone radiation and even Wi-Fi radiation, at night, it's a good idea to unplug your Wi-Fi router when you're sleeping, especially if it's anywhere close to your bed. And yeah, I wouldn't have it near you where you are consistently, for sure. And then with cell phones, same sort of thing every night. I mean, just to keep, the noises of notifications and things off, I always put it in airplane mode, which at least reduces the radiation emitted, and I keep it at least 6 feet away from the bed, but farther the better, just to not have that just to not be bombarded by that while we're sleeping. And then yeah, when you speak on the phone, don't ever hold it up to your head. Always use speakerphone if you can, or wired. Don't use the Bluetooth headsets. Those also emit radiation, but you can use wired earbuds. Those still emit radiation, but it's much less than holding up to your head. And you can even look into getting, I forget the brand of this, but you can look up different cases. And like this one I have, it actually has a plate on the front of it that has a radiation shield. And so it has little holes in here, so I can, and then the speakers at the bottom. So if I do need to hold it up to my head, I can close the case, and I have this protective layer between myself and the phone to use that. So that's a good option. And if it's in my pocket, I use that case, which is also my wallet. And that anti-radiation side is always facing my body, so just to reduce that amount as much as possible. But those are just some helpful tips that I've picked up along the years to help out with that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, as Toni mentioned, go outside and ground. This is it, because as we're being affected by this radiation, we're accumulating this sort of electrical charge. And that's why the earth is so amazing to do, because it resets, it grounds and helps us to dispel all of that energy that we're accumulating. And Fairman in America is asking in the chat, thoughts on grounding, wristband, mats, or sheets. I'm sure many of those work well. I have not tested them myself. You might want to test their effectiveness with an e-meter, like electronic meter, to make sure it is actually having a grounding effect. But I know many of those do work in that same sort of fashion. I mean, nothing's going to be better than the earth itself, but those I'm sure can be helpful to sort of dispel that energy. So there are multiple ways that we can, because it's difficult to escape all of it unless we go live inside a tinfoil room and just hole up in there. You can't really get away from it. But there are ways to reduce it significantly, and then just on top of just being in an alkaline state based on what we consume are certainly helpful ways to help with that. So yeah, I just wanted to add that little bit from me on the topic.
Yeah, I'm just reading more about the I don't even know if I pronounced this correctly. myelin sheet, Myelin.
Mylar, I think it's my.
No, it's not AR. It's Myelin.
Okay. It must be like a different variation of kind of a similar material. But
well,
yeah.
it is an insulating tubular casing that forms around nerve tissue. It has the purpose of permitting electrical impulses to be transmitted fast and efficiently along nerve cells. It is the slowing down of these transmissions from deterioration of the myelin sheath that is partially considered to be the primary problem with neurological conditions such as multiple sclerosis. Now here is where iridology comes in, because it's very useful as an assessment tool to determine whether there are brain lesions involved, radii solaris, emanating, oh my gosh, those English words.
Emanating
into the brain region. See, I learned something today. Nerve rings present, signify nerve weakness, severity of adrenal gland weakness, and or liver gallbladder weakness. So that can all be seen in the iridology, in the iris. If a neurological condition worsens rapidly or it responds very poorly or not at all to dietary changes and supplementary protocols, be advised to consider parasitical and environmental influences, such as electromagnetic field exposures as outlined above. I just read something about the, what was it? The electric, the power lines. I lived in an area a few yards away from my house where these high power, call it high power lines, the big ones. I could not live there. I could not sleep there.
No.
That was absolutely horrendous. It's also important that dental amalgam mercury fillings be removed as soon as possible to prevent or mitigate further damage to the brain and nervous system. So you can research the process of having your fillings removed by a qualified biological holistic dentist. You have to look for that.
Yeah, I think the certification is SMART SMART. It's like safe mercury amalgam removal something. But you can look those up, and there's a whole database of dentists who have been trained in the proper methods of doing that. That's how I had mine removed. And they essentially set you up to where they have like a vacuum constantly pulling air out of your mouth, and they put a protective layer around your mouth with like some form of some material to keep the amalgam from falling into your mouth at all. And so it's very, very careful in how they remove those, because when you do drill and stir up those fillings, it can create a lot of toxic dust and stuff that you certainly don't want to ingest in any fashion. So, but it is a fantastic idea to get those removed, because yeah, it is just slowly toxifying your body and your mind, especially.
Did you know that, I think you do, because we talked about this before, that when you are on all fruit, the body just gets rid of it.
Yeah, pops it out.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I had one and I was like, I'm not going to do anything to it because I want to see what's going to happen, and so far so good. It may grow back, because that is the ultimate, that we can have it grow back. Neurological conditions, depending on the specific situation, often responds very positively to biomagnetic therapy, which is actually highly recommended. Sometimes physiotherapy, chiropractic adjustments, certain massage techniques, and earthing naturally. If it cannot be naturally, you can use a grounding mat, what you already mentioned, in conjunction, of course, with the proper dietary and herbal regimens. And consider that you probably also have high elevated levels of stress if you have one of these conditions. And be aware that meditation and breathing exercises are well advisable. Now, there is actually a recommended biomagnetic therapy, and those are offered by Biomag Science Corp. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
I have not looked in them, but this comes from this all comes from GrapeGate. He is Dr. Morse, was a Dr. Morse practitioner. And he put all this information for us together. And not only the practitioners or the counselors have access to it, but everyone actually does. So it's all on grapegate.com, which is where people also can find a list of all the practitioners worldwide.
Nice.
And I'm listed there too. I got listed there a few years ago. Yeah, but you know, when you want to work with a practitioner, it doesn't really matter where they are. Sometimes, and I can see where it comes in handy if you can find, if you are in France and English is not your native language, it would be wonderful if you can work with a practitioner in France. Same goes for Germany, because not everyone speaks English fluently.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's not it's yeah, there are a few in every country. I mean, there's that all over the world, because Dr. Morse trained well, at least over 1,000 practitioners, and I hope it's a lot more, because at the training I was, there were already a few hundred. So I would say, and he did those trainings once a year, and he has been doing that for the last 10 years, and now it's online. So you can get the whole training, including actually also the iridology. It's all online. And if you go to his website, Dr. Morse's Herbal, what was it? Dr. Morse's Herbal Health Club, yeah, .com.
Nice.
And for all the things that we just talked about, with all the neurological issues that we can have, there are herbal protocols for it, and we always work on the kidneys and bladder, the stomach and the bowels, the endocrine, very important, adrenals, of course, lymphatic system, but also, and this is a very important one, is the brain and nervous system. And the blood circulation, parasites. We have parasites for general parasites and microorganisms. And then there is actually an immune tonic that definitely helps too, plus the liver and the gallbladder. So these are actually the basic formulas that we work with to help with that. And I just have a new client's mother who is put on all this. So I'm very, I like to see where it's going, together with the transition to all fruit, and how we can turn back the Alzheimer.
Yeah, we don't, all of these degenerative diseases, and I say that lightly because there's no such thing as disease. It's all just acidity in different areas of our body causing different effects that show up differently, but it's the same root cause of the issue. And for anyone who listens to Dr. Morse's Q&As or lectures, it's funny how much the information starts to repeat itself, and for good reason, because it's the same solution and it might feel that way in these shows as well with what we talk about, because it is the same solution. You have to go get away from the acidic side of chemistry to the alkaline side of chemistry. And how do you do that? You go on the fruit, berries, and melons. And herbal protocols are helpful to kind of give a boost and specifically target things and maybe help speed up that process a little bit. But essentially, if we can get alkaline, everything else falls into place. It truly is that simple. But it does take some work. It takes some commitment, just because we are so addicted to our old ways of living in that acidic. We've been trained to be in acidosis and comfortable with that, and addicted to all these foods that are acidic. So it does take some persistence and take some, mental strength to stay with it. But it truly is a very, very simple solution.
Yeah, the thing is, you would think it is a lot of work, but because actually it's the least amount of work that we need to do. It's more the mental part, staying strong and inform yourself, because the more information you have about how things in your body work, you will be less worried. You will not be worried like oh my gosh, I have a pain this, or I have a flutter there and I don't feel good. And what is it? As long as you know you put the right fuel in your body, then it's your body at work to heal you. It's now there is an God, what was I gonna go into? I forgot. I was gonna say something and now it disappeared. I know I am not demented. Not yet, anyway. Not going to. Too much fruit. Well, I do have to say that when I had a heart attack, a big one, it's now 8.5 years ago, and when I woke up, I was actually already fine. It happened it happened at home on my way to the hospital, in the hospital, and then I was like, oh, I'm feeling fine again. I can go. I was, no. We want to see if you need a stent. And I said, no stents. And then it was, and then I was gone. I don't remember anything. I didn't give them permission to do anything, but they had put a dye in my body, in my veins, to see if there was a blockage. And there was one, and they said that was impossible because if there's one, there has to be more. I have never gone into the reason, but they use dye. And I have been pretty out of it for almost a year. That is how my brain was affected by that dye. And it is so toxic, and it's been used so much that my normal multitasking was completely out the door. I was happy if I could do anything. I had a brain fog that was like, am I even here anymore? And that all went away when I started on fruits, because I was not getting any better in all these years. And, even after I always say it, like I had a year of recovery of not being so tired and be able to do things. And I don't know what they all gave me, but as soon as I got out of the hospital, I didn't take it. So that was a good thing. But your brain is, it can easily be affected. And it's not just the chemicals you put in there, but it is also the food. And, you get to the cholesterol, to the lymph stagnation, which you can actually see in the eyes. And I think you will also hear that from John Stearns. It's the easiest to see. It's the kind of whitish over the color that already shows it. So it's it's been an interesting journey how all the multitasking actually is coming back again. And not the way that I was used to, because sometimes I look around and I'm like, I'm doing 6 things at a time. So what did I forget? It happens. It happens. Okay, well, we had a question here, and that is from home, and he says, I had been on a fruit diet for almost a year now. I did the fruit cleanse for 13 days. I am not sure what he means if he has been on a fruit diet for a year and did a cleanse for 13 days, maybe the juice for 13 days. Then I stopped because I had rashes. Now, this is very, very normal. This is a detox symptom. And if your kidneys are not really filtering well and your lymph gets stagnated, your skin is like your third kidney, it will just come out. You got rashes, another one can get psoriasis or acne or whatever else can show up on the skin. So it is like, keep doing it. I just have my blood test done, and my A1C and my average glucose is 120, and last year it was 114. Hemoglobin A1C is 5.8%, which is high, and last year it was 5.6%. So it indicates that I am pre-diabetes. This is something that we really have to get away from, that it's another disease with a name, pre-diabetes, pre-cancerous. Are there more of these pre-things that they have come up with? What happens when you eat fruit, it will fluctuate. It will be a little higher and a little lower. The difference between 120 and 140 is not big, but you like to get it under 100. Like when I'm a diabetic, and I have been going through a time with super, super high stress, and going through a divorce and not having a lot of money. I ate beans because that was cheap. And that's where the diabetes started, because beans and whatever else was added, and cheap food. And my sugar was sometimes up to 320 and 200. And so I thought when I was on all raw, I was good to go, but my all raw still had some fat in it. So I could not get it under 180 and sometimes a little over 200. So it's not that I did the test. It was like when I was on 100% fruit, I was like, I feel pretty good actually, let's test it. And to my surprise, it was 80. I don't remember ever seeing it 80 in the last 20 years. So this is what all fruit is doing. So if you still have some high blood sugar, then look, really, it can be the little things that you overlook. For me, it was just a simple thing of an avocado, which is high fat. That's why I always come back to that avocado. Be careful with it. He says, I drink 48 ounces of watermelon juice and 16 ounces of orange juice every day and eat some fruits for lunch and dinner. I drink only 16 ounces of water a day. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't think you did anything, you do anything wrong. It is just if you are on 100% fruit and you don't eat salads with dressings of oils and such, then keep on going and, test once in a while, see where it is, because you may need some herbal formulas to help you with this, and I can help you with that, but then I would need to have more information. And yeah, we can go from there. I have not replied to him in, I am sorry, I don't know if it's a him or a her. An Hong Dong, I don't know. But I will reply in email and get you some more information out, and we can go from there. But don't worry too much. It's like when you put in the right fuels and you feel good. I mean, if you feel bad, then you have to see where you can change something. Watermelon is very, very astringent. I know that I do respond very strong with watermelon, and I've heard that from a lot of people. So you may try some other fruits instead of watermelon. Try what is it? Apple juice, for instance. I come up with apple juice because I have a glass liter bottle right next to me here with apple juice in it.
So good.
Apple juice and lemon. Yeah, and be aware with how you combine your fruits, because if you say some fruits for lunch and dinner, does that include the veggie fruits? To see how you combine it, and then to give you a really, really good answer, I do need some more information. So
and well said, and really just. Yeah, like Toni said, we kind of need to know more information to know when you say fruit cleanse, does that mean you're on 100% avocados? Because that's a fruit, which that would certainly introduce complications and problems, and or coconuts or any of the high fat things still could technically be fruit, but it's not going to help us in the detox process. It's going to slow things down, because fat actually, as soon as we eat a high fat meal, it constricts all of our cells, and our blood becomes congealed and thick, and our heart has to work harder. And this has the same sort of effect in the lymphatic system as well. So it just slows everything down when we eat the fat. So if you are experiencing detox symptoms like rashes and things like that, that means that you have accumulated acidosis within your cells. So it's not a bad sign to get the rash. It's just an indication that you've got a lot of healing to do. So it's, we always have to get back to the fact that there's nothing that we can do to harm ourselves if we are on the juicy fruit. If we're on the subacid, acid, or even sweet fruits, as long as as long as they have a good water content. There are a couple that might not be as helpful, like bananas are not the greatest. Dried fruit is not going to be the greatest for detoxing, but for the most part, if you're on a sweet fruit diet and you're not improperly combining things, you're going to heal. And you might experience some uncomfortable symptoms. We've gone over a bunch of those before. I've gone through many uncomfortable symptoms. I still am going through some uncomfortable symptoms. You're talking about rashes, like my hands will, if my kidneys aren't filtering, my hands will start to break out in boils. Like I'll start to have this like pus come out of my hands, which is just another reason to make sure that your kidneys are filtering, and herbs can be helpful with that, but also incorporating some intermittent dry fasting to where you just have longer periods in the day where you're not eating or drinking water. This can help stimulate the kidneys. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. It's really not overly complicated, but because we are coming from such a toxic state, it can be a little complex, and it varies from person to person on the optimal route to get back to that. So yeah, that's where the benefits of reaching out to someone like Toni to really assess where you are, and that way you can really target and figure out some things that maybe are just not being combined correctly. Because like she said, if you're eating a lot of fruit, but you're having a big heavy meal, and then you're eating a lot of fruit after that meal, that's going to introduce a lot of complications. You're going to start to that fruit's going to ferment in your stomach and actually cause more acidity than the fruit would help otherwise get out of it. So it is really important to learn about the correct way to do things and eat things. And that's why, if you don't want to deal with any of that, just go to monofruit meals. Like I'm going to eat all grapes for this meal, and then I'm going to wait 2 hours or 2 hours or more. And then I'm going to have all apples or all watermelon and just have one thing. And then you don't have to worry about any of these combining things. You don't have to complicate any things. And it's the easiest form on our body. It's the easiest way to assimilate things. So that's going to be the absolute optimum route, is to go on all fruit and monofruit meals, and just stay consistent with that until you truly feel like you've detoxed enough. And then you can start incorporating other types of foods, not going back to the cooked oils or the things that are super acidifying, but you can start to play around with more things. But for most people, this is years. This is like at definitely months, but most often, more often than not, it's a years long practice to really flush the body and get rid of these toxins that we've accumulated through all of our lives. So yeah, that's just my take on that.
Yeah, what I had to learn once I finally understood, learned what is going on in the body, I actually learned to embrace the detox symptoms. It's minor as they are. It's like, well, something is happening. I mean, if it happens because you ate something wrong, then it's like, okay, I'll do better the next time. But if you know that you do all the right things and that you are on only fruit, or at least all raw, and very low in fats, and you have some symptoms like a rash or a boil, and it's like, your body is at work, and your kidneys may need a little bit more help, and you may need to get that lymph moving. And there are easy ways to get your lymph moving after your kidneys are filtering adequately. And that is like well, we talked about that, what is it? The rebounder, or what you suggest, do it in the grass, just a little up and down. And you can do skin brushing on my channel. I have ways on how you can do that correctly. And the dry skin brushing is never towards the heart. So the correct way is shown in the videos. There is lymph massage, and absolutely do not do that if your kidneys are not filtering well, because it will hurt, and you can get actually lymph nodes that are getting hard. So there is a process in how it should happen. So your first goal is to get the kidneys to filter, and then the lymph to move, and you go from there, and you will see a lot of improvements. And for me, it was the improvements was there as soon as I left the bad foods out, even before my kidneys were filtering. But to get to 100% health, it's going to take a lot longer for me. I have a few more years probably to go, like what you said, it's not going to happen instantly, which is what we expect in our society. That's always so, here you have a pill and now you're good to go. And we have to get away from that way of thinking. That is not what is working for us. It's suppressing symptoms. And yeah, I can see, if you have a full-time job and you need to work, you don't have time for all the detox symptoms, but that is where you go slow. Don't jump in it, from a standard diet into a fruit diet. I think we spoke about that last week, how bad that can be, and what kind of results you can have if you do that. You can get pretty sick. I would never ever recommend that. So it's but if you are on all fruit, there's nothing that can go wrong. And I know some people, probably especially the ones with excess thinness, losing a lot of weight and cannot lose more, or people who are on all fruit and then gain weight. There is then something else that is not working right. So this is always where somebody who has a little bit more experience, like the Dr. Morse trained practitioners, come in, so you can ask them. So that's why we're here for. Did you have any questions, Justin?
Yes, I do. There are a few in the chat that we can go over. So Katie asked, if a woman has had a hysterectomy, should she stop taking the synthetic estrogen pills? If yes, what should she do / take instead?
This is kind of interesting. I have a few clients who had a full hysterectomy, and yes, some people are on the synthetic hormones and got away from it. We have a female reproductive tonic with it's an herbal formula that helps. In, again, you need to have the kidneys, the adrenals, the lymph system working, and then everything together that works. One of my clients had a hysterectomy, never took any pharmaceuticals for it. She said, I did not notice a difference. So is it because we have always been told that when you have a full hysterectomy, you need the pharmaceuticals? But I believe that whatever you do to the body adjusts to it. And you give it a chance. If you take the synthetic hormones, you do not give your body a chance, and you just put in foreign substances that the body has to deal with. So you always have to make your own decision, as in not taking anything, or just working on the right foods with some herbal formulas, and give your body every chance and see how you feel. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with that myself, but I would say that there's nothing that can't be cured and healed by adapting to an alkaline lifestyle. So, you know, God wouldn't create us to need pills for anything. So it just really is taking that leap of faith and jumping off, but you've got to really decide and go with your own discernment as to when you're ready and how you're going to do that.
But yeah, you can, Kathy, you can connect with me and we can go over what would be the right procedure for you, what to do. And then you can decide if you want to go that route. I will never tell you, you have to do this or this, you know, it's always your own, you need to have the information and then make a decision is what works for you.
Yeah. Okay, then we have one on, Susan asked about grounding mats. So yeah, I spoke on this earlier. I haven't used them myself, but I imagine it would work. You just would have to make sure to test your outlet that you have it plugged into to make sure that's actually grounding, and that it has a grounding effect. Otherwise, it's just, you know, nothing. But you can test those. I don't have experience doing that, but there are certainly ways that you can research and look up videos and how people test those. And if it does have a grounding effect, then yeah, it's going to help the ground. Not as well as being outside on the bare ground, but it should work. It should help for sure.
There is actually something to it, and I do not exactly remember what it said, but look up the negative impacts of grounding mats, because you can look at all the positive effects, but also look up the negative effects, because it was the reason that I didn't buy one. So yeah, look up both sides and then make a decision if it would work for you.
Yeah, well, and with those sorts of things, yeah, it's always good to research and take into consideration, you know, the information that's out there, but also keep in mind that if there are negative effects put out there on the internet, it could be because it's a good thing. They've put out some negative information to deter people from doing it. They do like to put that sort of disinformation out there, but I don't know for certain. I'm just throwing that consideration out there.
Yeah, but also think about this. It is not in any way natural.
No.
So, you know, is it good for the body? Is it what we need? Do we feel better on it? Those things are not really cheap. Well, you can get the smaller ones actually for under $100, but it is the same as with the infrared saunas. And I just had bought a really nice big 2 people infrared sauna. And then I met Dr. Morse. And he said, you're burning up the insides with infrared.
Yeah, radiation.
Yeah, so I've never used it. Well, never used it. I've been in there, I think 2 or 3 times. So now it's sitting there, and I can't, with what I know now, I can't even sell it. And so now it's a play toy for the cats. A playhouse.
Sue Hoodie asked, is there a good raw food cookbook with fruit and veggie food recipes? I'm looking for a good salad dressing recipe. Yeah, I found a few myself. I'll sometimes look through them. There are lots of YouTube videos and stuff online. If you just look up, raw salad dressings. I found the easiest to do, is you don't want to get super complicated with spices, and a lot of them will add like salt and garlic and all these other sorts of things, which really are not good for us to consume. A really great simple one is just take tomatoes and mango and blend that up, and it is absolutely delicious. You can add some herbs to it if you want to make it a little bit herbier, and then just play with the ratios if you want it more tomatoey or want it more sweet with the mango. That's a great combination. It's combining a veggie fruit with the subacid, which is maybe not the most ideal, but it's really not going to be too harmful. I haven't noticed any negative effects myself from consuming that. And then, yeah, just playing around with that. So playing around with that combination, or really just blending blending veggie fruits or fruits, making simple lemon-based dressings. So just taking lemon, maybe lemon and tomato, and adding herbs. That's also a really, really good one. So yeah, simple is always better. And it does kind of come back to the fact that, we're not really meant to consume salads. If it's not palatable by itself, it's not really designed for us. So often in the raw food community, there's this craze over, you got to have your salad, you got to eat your big giant bowls of leafy greens and hard dense vegetables and make sure it's all raw and all that kind of stuff, which is we're not herbivores. We're not really designed to eat that much cellulose. We don't produce any cellulase within our stomach. So we can't break that down unless you introduce artificial enzymes, which are going to introduce other problems if you start doing that. So it really just comes back to looking at what we're eating and the fact that what is palatable without adding any dressing or spices or anything like that. It's the fruit. So if it's not palatable without that kind of stuff, it really should be looked at, and then maybe we shouldn't be consuming that kind of stuff. So just something to consider. I mean, it is fun to play around with different raw food recipes and do that kind of stuff. But ultimately, coming back to the fruit is going to be the best route for health. So yeah, don't beat yourself up. It's fun to explore, but just keep that in mind as you do explore it.
Yeah, the only thing that should be or can be combined with veggies or fruit is actually lemon. And a little apple is not too bad. You can do that too, but anything else, I know the mangoes are great, but I wouldn't suggest it. But you can do, I think you put that in the show notes, that mucusless food PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have that in there. What you can do, you have to get creative. I mean, if whatever you have as a salad, you can use as a dressing. And, you just put part of it in a blender, you add some herbs to it. The Italian, what is it? Italian spices or Italian herbs. The dry herbs, that's a variety of all kinds of kitchen herbs in there. And that actually tastes great.
Mm-hmm.
Can put a little dulse in it if you want it a little saltier, and that works perfectly. And that can be a combination of even the zucchini, the cherry tomatoes, lemon, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But because I don't like to eat a huge bowl of salad, and what you say, you have to digest it all. I had just I was looking at a bowl of salad and I was like, oh no, this is not going to happen. It's going to take me an hour to get through this. I put it all in the blender and I had my cold soup and it was delicious. So whatever is on that mucusless food list, it has a section with the foods that you want to or should eat when you are on a detox, but it also has the before or after a detox foods that you can safely eat. Now, there are actually cooked foods on it. I do not say that would be a good thing for if you're still healing, because you may not want to be on 100% fruit for whatever reason. It can be your work, it can be a family outing, a vacation, but then keep that list with the foods, and even in restaurants, you can find stuff that you can eat. So it's not too difficult. Another beautiful, and I think it's absolutely beautiful book that is called Love on a Plate by, what is her name? Kara Brotman and Marcus Rothkrantz. They have a whole bunch of videos. The only thing you have to be aware of with these recipes, they do contain nuts. And they also use nutritional yeast sometimes. I'm not a fan of that. I know it has a great taste, but no, it's a lab-made thing, and you don't even know you want to know where it comes from. So that is a no, but you can adjust recipes. There is an Englishman who is actually, he is all raw food. He has amazing recipes. His name is Ariel, and now I have to look up what his last name is. He has ebooks. And he has absolutely amazing, amazing recipes. You just have to leave certain things out. Like, no, let's not add that to it. I think it is Ariel Alonso. Let me see. Yeah, Nutrition Raw. And he has really great books. There's another one who is actually very funny, and you will enjoy his YouTube video, is The Raw Advantage. He makes a killer pizza, all raw. You do need a dehydrator for it, but he comes up with a lot of great ideas, and he is pretty into an very clean diet. No oils, no, I don't even think he uses nuts at all.
No,
So,
no,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. You can
No.
finish. Okay. Yeah, he doesn't use, he'll have like little caveats where he's like, you could add nuts to this if you wanted to, but he stays pretty consistent with the low fat, no salt, no crazy spices or anything like that. Yeah, he's great. I love his YouTube channel, and Eugene has just been, he's been poring over those recipes and making all sorts of great creations from that. So yeah, that's a great YouTube channel to recommend for sure.
Yeah, it's not like a daily thing that you have to do, but I can see where when you have family over and or friends, and you know you want to have some delicious recipes, those things would be great to try out. What they did, but actually with that book by Marcus Brotman, Love on a Plate, the gourmet uncooked book, plant-based versions of the most favorite meals in the world. And it's not a cheap recipe book, and they do have a lot of videos. But if you look at the recipes and then you look at your list with the mucusless foods, that's how you create the things. But you know, it's different for everybody what you feel that you need when you have people over. That is what I would do. I would make them a great pizza. I mean, it's preparation of probably a day and a half before, because it needs to be in the dehydrator overnight. But this is also how you can introduce raw foods to people who are not used to it, and show them that it is delicious, because you will have people that think that you're crazy about what you're eating. Oh, you eat all fruit. Well, there is more. You can eat more. It's just the healing part. It would be best to do all fruit, but you know, you don't have to deprive yourself from other things like, oh, I can't have anything else ever again. You can, and still be healthy. But always keep an eye out on what you eat and how your body responds to it. It's like, you know, you feel sick one day and then look back, what did I eat? So that when you start detoxing, I always suggest write down what you eat and how you feel mentally. Do you have any bowel movements? Is it more, is it less? So you get an control over what's going on in your body without being fearful. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, totally does. Yeah, and you know, just in general, when we're looking for raw food recipes, you do have to, and you just modify them, because a lot of these like raw food cooks, or however you term it, that like they do incorporate a lot of things that I wouldn't, you know, do. So just learn about the foods that we really are not meant for, like your vinegars, like your salts, like your you know, spices, your garlic, your onions. And whenever you see those things, just find a way to take them out of whatever particular recipe and play around with it and make it your own. So that way you can modify the things that you see and still keep it within that that sort of healing path. But always good to check that out. And it's fun to play with. It is certainly fun to play with. I recognize that, you know, like by eating the sort of the gourmet raw stuff, like from what the Raw Advantage, Chris Kendall, what he does, it's not going to be detoxing me at a significant rate as if I were on all fruit, but it does help to maintain that balance of, you know, not feeling like I have to be so stuck in a particular way. So we all have to find our balance and, you know, do it in the right way. Yeah, so there was one just short question, was are pumpkins a fruit? And I think it's kind of been addressed in the chat, but yeah, anything with the seed is technically a fruit. Pumpkins are going to be pretty hard to eat raw, and they're kind of more of like a starch. So I wouldn't really recommend those if you're detoxing, because you're most likely going to want to steam those. So that would be a food that you could experiment with after you feel like you're in a detox state. It's still not going to be as great for us as eating the soft fruits, but it is certainly technically a fruit of the vegetable.
Yeah, look on the mucusless PDF and see where it is, if it is mucus forming or acidic, and then you don't eat those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's a very good guideline actually for maintenance too, because it is, all in all, it is a lifestyle change.
Yep. And then just another quick question. Stan Wingfield said vinegars to ferment food is good. So no, so fermenting is just another way to say rotting, and we don't want to eat rotting food. So vinegar is the product of fermentation. It doesn't do anything. It's acid. It disrupts our chemical makeup. It disrupts a lot of the good digestive bacteria that we have within us. So vinegar is not good. Anything fermented is not good. Yeah, just as a rule of thumb. I mean, it's not gonna, you know, it's certainly not gonna kill you, because obviously we've been eating all sorts of horrible things, but it's definitely not gonna help you. So it's not optimum. So yeah, with that, did you have any closing comments as we enter,
Oh, I wish everyone great health and easy journey getting there, which it is not really. And connect with me with questions. Doesn't matter, doesn't have to be right before we do a video. It can be anytime. My answer could be slow, it could be really fast too. I don't know. That's what I said. I tried to do 6 things at the same time. But yeah, enjoy your life and embrace, you know, when you are on the right food, embrace what's happening in your body. Learn as much as you can. I have a video channel with short Dr. Morse videos about certain topics. They're very interesting. And since everybody pretty much knows somebody who has cancer, I would suggest use those short videos and show them to people so they know what to do and not be so fearful.
Yep.
And thanks everybody for being here. I mean, we share all this with lots of love. And I would say till the next time.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Love you all, and